Good morning, everybody. Welcome to your science lesson for today. Last week we had a look at volcanoes, very interesting topic, so I hope you learned a lot about that. This week we are going to focus on pollution, and in particular water pollution. I hope everybody remembers how to spell the word pollution, because that was one of our spellings a couple of weeks ago, and I hope everyone remembers the meaning of the word pollution as well, which basically pollution is materials or gases or substances which are harmful to the environment, so to plants and animals in the environment. Okay. So we're going to start by looking at a video just to get us started. It's a video on water pollution. So this is in your daily plan as well. If you want to watch it in your browser, you can. It might be better quality, but we'll have a look at it here in this video as well anyway. Okay.
Our topic for today is water pollution. Contamination of water by harmful substances which affects life on Earth is termed as water pollution. Due to human activities, our water is getting more and more polluted day by day. Household garbage is disposed into various sources of water. Many people perform their domestic activities like bathing, washing clothes and utensils, etc. in these sources of water. Also, industrial wastes are discharged into the water, leading to water pollution. Consumption of this polluted water leads to diseases like cholera, typhoid, diarrhea, etc. in human beings. Polluted water also adversely affects the aquatic life. Thus, we need to make sure that we do not pollute water. Domestic activities like bathing, washing clothes and utensils should not be done in rivers, lakes, ponds, etc. Household garbage should not be disposed in the various sources of water. Also, sewage and industrial wastewater should be treated before discharging into the water.
Okay. So we had a look at our video there, and yes. Okay, so we've had a look at our video there, and we can see that human activities plays a big role in pollution of water. So some human activities such as bathing, washing clothes, swimming, things like that, can cause pollution of water. And also there's Household garbage, putting that into water is also, it can pollute the water. So putting that into rivers or lakes or ponds is harmful to the water. Also, you have industrial waste. Now, industrial waste is waste from big factories or big buildings, big factories that produce a lot of waste. And that is often dumped into rivers or lakes or oceans. So that's another big problem as well. Now, what are the problems of polluted water? Well, if you drink polluted water, you can get sick, can't you? You can get lots of diseases, and it named a lot of diseases that we can get if we drink that polluted water. It also is very harmful to aquatic life. So it's harmful to fish and their habitats. So what can we do then to help? We can not do any of our domestic activities in water. So none of your bathing or washing clothes or things like that. Don't dump household waste into the water, okay? And for industrial waste, we need to treat it beforehand. So we can't just dump it in straight away. It needs to be sent to a water processing plant or a water treatment plant where the harmful pollutants, the pollution can be treated and made safe to put into the water, okay? So we'll go to our book now, our textbook, which is page 90. And okay, so the chapter is how we affect our world. And what we're going to do today is we're going to find out how human activity affects the environment. Okay, so let's look at the picture of people here enjoying spending time on the river. What are they doing? So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 people there. They all have helmets on. They all have life jackets, don't they? And they all have paddles. So what could they be doing? The water around it is very choppy and white. I think they're whitewater rafting, which is what happens when you go down a stream or a lake, which is moving very fast. And there are lots of rocks and things like that that you have to avoid. So that's another example of human activity on a river. So rivers come in many different shapes and sizes. Some rivers are wide and slow moving. Others are narrow and fast flowing. So the kind of rivers that you would be on doing whitewater rafting would be the second kind here, the ones that are narrow and fast flowing. Some rivers are very long, some rivers are very short. Now, the first question we have here, what are the names of the 3 longest rivers in the world? The 3 longest rivers in the world. I wonder, do you know the names of any of the 3 longest rivers in the world? One of them is in Africa, the longest river in the world, very famous. I'm sure you know the name of it. Another one is in Asia. You might not know it, but it's also very long, the second longest in the world. And the third biggest one shares its name with the biggest rainforest in the world in South America, in Brazil. We learned a little bit about this already. So if you know the name of the rainforest, you should know the name of the river as well. The biggest rainforest in the world in Brazil begins with an A. Well, the first longest river in the world is in Egypt, and it's called the Nile. The Nile is the longest river in the world. So let's put that in there, the Nile. The Nile is the longest in the world. Okay. the Nile, the longest in the world. Now the second longest is in Asia, in China, and it is called the Yangtze. So you don't even need to put the in front of it. So the Nile, the Yangtze, and shares its name with the biggest rainforest in the world in Brazil, beginning with A, the Amazon River. Okay. So I'm trying to get rid of that blue. Okay. The Nile, the Yangtze, and the Amazon. They are the three longest rivers in the world. Okay, so humans use rivers for many different reasons. How many activities can you think of that people do on or near a river? So we've seen some of them in the video, and we've discussed them. We've seen another one here, whitewater rafting. How many do you think you can think of, including these? If maybe it would be a good idea to pause the video now. So pause the video, give yourself a minute, and just think in your head of as many different activities that you think people can do near a river. Pause the video, think of as many as you can. So when you're finished your minute, you're finished writing all your activities down, you can restart the video. And some of the activities you could have got were including from our video, we had washing clothes. And we said that's probably not a good idea because of all the pollution that could be in the water. What else can you do? You can fish, can't you? You can go fishing, trying to catch fish. You can swim. Swimming is another very popular activity that people do in rivers. You can also bathe, can't you? Bathe beside the river. You can take a trip in a boat or in a dinghy or a raft, can't you? So there's lots and lots of things. I'm sure you've thought of loads of those and loads of your own things. So you can see we really rely heavily on rivers and lakes and water in general to do activities, don't we? We know that rivers are very useful for different reasons. We've outlined some of the reasons why they are useful there. But do we damage rivers by using them? Let's look at how human activities can impact on a river and its surrounding habitats. So humans can have a huge impact on rivers. We've seen in the video as well and discussed already some of the impacts that it can have, haven't we? So what about, we've said that humans can have huge impacts, can't they? So sometimes they dump their household waste in rivers, they bathe or they wash clothes and do things like that, which is harmful to the water, isn't that right? And we said, don't put any of your domestic rubbish into water, and try not to bathe or wash your clothes or do any of that kind of stuff in the waters as well. What about factories then? So here's a picture of a factory on the side of a river. And we have a question here. How do you think factories can have an impact on the river? So what do you see in the picture here? As you can see, the factory is here, and then we have some pipes here coming out with what presumably is waste in the water. And what color is this here? It's black, isn't it? Does that look very healthy or very good? Not really, does it? So I just want you to have a think for a minute. How do you think factories can impact on the water? You can use this picture to help you. How can the factories have an impact on the river? So this stuff coming out here, is that good for the river, do you think? What impact can it have? Pause the video if you need to. Give yourself a minute and see what you think. If somebody is with you at home there, your mum or your dad, or if you have a brother or sister or anybody, you can have a little chat with them. Otherwise, just think in your head, what impact do you think the factories can have on the river? So when you're finished then, you can press play again. And you may have got something like factories can dump chemicals or waste into the rivers and kill or harm maybe the creatures that live there, kill the aquatic life or kill the fish. They can also damage where the animals live. Don't we know the word, fancy word for where animals live, beginning with H? Habitat. So they can kill the animals or creatures or fish that live there, and they can also damage or destroy the habitats of the animals or plants that live near the factory. Okay, so we'll have a look at our PowerPoint now, which is here. Okay, so the PowerPoint is about specifically plastic pollution in water. This is another huge problem in water pollution. It's one of the main contributors to water pollution is plastic. So let's have a look. Okay, here you can see in this picture here, lots of different types of plastics, can't you? Plastic can here, can of Coke or something, and plastic paper all around there. Okay, plastic is very popular, there's no doubt about it. It's very common, it's everywhere. When you go to the supermarket, what are the bags that you're given made of? Usually plastic, okay? And there's lots of them around. Plastic is a very popular material. Think about all the objects at home and school which are made from plastic. You have a minute to jot down as many as you can. So here's another example. Here's an Xbox. All your Xboxes, your PlayStations, they're all made from, mainly from plastic. This rubber here, or eraser, is made from a different type of plastic as well. So you have a minute, okay, pause the video, think of as many types of plastic as you can. So I've told you already, when you're going shopping, the bags that you get there, they're also plastic, aren't they? Where think of it, things at home and school that are also made of plastic. So think of as many as you can in a minute. And when you're finished the video, you can press play again. Okay, so I'm presuming you've paused the video there and you're going to press play now again. You've thought of all your plastic materials. Okay, what do we have? Here we have what looks like a Samsung maybe, but a smartphone. So the outside cover of a phone, here's my phone here. This material here is made from plastic. So all the outer casing of the phone would be made from plastic usually. What else have we got? We have our shoes. So parts of our shoes or our runners are made from plastic as well. Plastic comes in a few different forms. So, and here we have a laptop. So the whole outside of the laptop there is usually made from plastic. It's very cheap to make, and it's there's lots of it. That's the reason why a lot of things are made from plastic, but it's not always ideal, and it's tough to get rid of, which is what we're going to find out after this. It's very useful as well, very useful. It keeps things airtight, which is ideal for keeping food fresh. Your lunch boxes, did you get that? Is that one of the things you thought of? Lunch box is very, very handy. You can close the lid, keeps things airtight so no air can get in, and it can keep the food fresh. It's very handy, no doubt about it. Here we have plastic bottles of water. It's waterproof, so nothing leaks out or drips in. That's another very useful advantage of plastics. And here we have seats at a football stadium, or at could be a football stadium, or could be maybe a theatre or a cinema or something like that. Probably a football stadium, looks like. It can be made into a range of items, from chairs to cars, dice to drain pipes. So it's very versatile. You can make lots and lots of things out of it. It can be molded into different shapes, lots of different shapes, easily. So it's very, very useful. There's no doubt about it. And that's the reason why it's so popular. And you see it so often, because it's very useful. It can even be used in art, in craft and artwork as well. Did you know the word plastic comes from the Greek word plastikos, which means fit for molding? I did not know that, but it's very interesting, because it definitely is very fit or able to be molded. It's fit for molding. It can be molded into many different shapes. So it's heated to a very high temperature, melted, and put into certain shapes, and when it cools, it sets in that shape. So very handy. So discuss it. Talk about the other uses of plastic. Okay, so you can pause the video here again. We've given some great uses of plastic here, and we've talked about a few previously as well. Can you think of any other uses of plastic? Maybe at home, at school, in the shops, in the malls, whatever you think. Okay, pause the video here, give yourself a minute, and think of as many uses of plastic as you can. And again, if somebody is there with you, you can discuss it with your partner, with your parent or your brother or sister, or whoever's there as well. Otherwise, just think of it in your head. Okay, so I'm going to assume that you've paused the video and you've pressed play again. And so let's move on. Plastic and the environment. And we've learned what the environment is already. Okay. The biggest problem with unwanted plastic is the pollution and damage it causes the environment. Plastic breaks into tiny pieces, which then get blown around by the wind and the rain. It ends up in our streams, rivers, and the ocean. Fact: there is increasing evidence which shows that regularly using some plastics can cause health problems for some people. Okay, so there's increasing evidence which shows that regularly using some plastics can cause health problems for people. So that's another reason why we shouldn't overuse plastic. It can still be used, of course, but maybe we're probably using it too much, and we should concentrate on more environmentally friendly alternatives like paper or something like that. So discuss it. Talk to the person beside you about your thoughts. Okay, so if there's nobody at home there that you can talk to, again, just think about it in your head. Think about what we've just read there. Give yourself a minute again. Okay, so I'm going to assume again that you've given yourself a minute, you've discussed it or thought about it in your head, and we'll move on again. Plastic pollution. Right, so here we have some pictures. Okay, so this is a little stream or a pond, and you can see bits of plastic there floating around. Doesn't look very nice, does it? It's not very pretty to look at. That's one thing. Here we have a bird, seagull maybe. I'm not sure what type of bird it is. Could be a seagull, with a packet of, looks like a packet of crisps, packet of potato chips, which somebody has just obviously thrown away, and it's washed up in the water. And now, do you think it would be a good idea for him to eat that? I think he'd feel very unwell if he ate that, wouldn't he? Yeah. And here, oh, look at this. So here's looks like a baby seal, and you can see there's a bit of plastic trapped around his neck. So that can obviously be very dangerous. He might choke, or he might not be able to breathe with that around his neck. So those are some of the reasons, or some examples of where plastic is very, very dangerous. All living things should be able to live free from pollution and harm from plastics. So what can we do? What can we do to help get rid of, or help solve this problem of plastic? Okay, look at these two pictures. Which do you think is the right thing to use to help the environment? Okay. Right. Water bottles are one of the main causes of environmental pollution. Instead of using lots of water bottles and throwing them away, have a glass or mug of water. Not only is it environmentally friendly, it's also cheaper. Okay, so maybe at home, if you had a big container of water, you can pour it into a glass bottle, which can be reused all the time. You just wash it again and it can be reused again, instead of maybe buying lots of water bottles which you throw out, and then they may find their way into the water, and it might not be, it wouldn't be good for the environment, would it? So there's one idea. There's one way we can help. Look at these two bags. Which do you think is a more environmentally friendly bag? Okay, so on our left here, we have an environmentally friendly bag. I'm not sure what it's made of, but on the right here, these are the normal kind of bags you get from Bacala or Spar or any of the supermarkets, or Carrefour, or any of these places, supermarkets. Normally you're given these normal plastic bags. Carrier bags are often used once and thrown away. Instead, buy a bag for life and keep using it. Since many shops charge 5p per bag, a reusable one is cheaper too. Okay, I don't think shops charge for bags over here, but anyway, in certain countries, because they want to cut down on the use of plastic bags, they charge extra money for the use of these plastic bags. So this one on the left here is a reusable bag. So it's stronger, made of stronger material. And the idea is that you bring that to the shop with you every time you go, and you can keep using that forever, that bag. Whereas normally these are the bags we get in the supermarket, and what happens as soon as we use them once, either we throw them away, or we never use them again. So they end up as being as waste, which isn't ideal, obviously. Our responsibility: by making small changes, we can all make a difference. Let's all work together to make the earth a healthier and cleaner place for everything. Okay. And this is what we prefer to see, isn't it? Beautiful nature without any ugly bits of plastic or dangerous bits of plastic lying around the place. Okay. So that was our PowerPoint. Let's go back to our textbook. Okay. Right. All right. So page 91 then. These pictures show different human activities on or near to a river. For each of the pictures, identify the impact on the river and the surrounding habitats. Write the letter of the correct impact next to the photograph of each activity. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 activities, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 impacts of these activities. Number 1 here is fishing. Number 2 is a speedboat. Number 3 is rubbish plastic rubbish in a river. Number 4 here is a dam. So a dam is something that's used on a river to change the height of the water. So if somebody decides that the water level is too high on a certain point of the river, they can build this dam here, which decreases the height of the water, the height of the river. Number 5 then is, it looks like cows, domestic animals, say, any kind of domestic animals. Okay, A, change the way the river flows. B, noise pollution. C, fewer fish. D, damaged plants on the riverbanks. E, creatures eat the rubbish and become ill. So you need to match the numbers from the pictures here with the letters here, the impacts on each activity. So fishing, which one of these 5 impacts would fishing cause? And the same for 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so maybe pause the video now. Go ahead and think in your head, don't write anything down, but think in your head, which would be which? Which photograph goes with which impact? So I'm going to assume you've paused the video now and you're ready, you've thought of your answers, and let's have a look, okay? So number 1, fishing would cause fewer fish, obviously, okay? Fishing would cause fewer fish. It makes sense, doesn't it? If you go fishing to catch fish and you keep them, you don't throw them back in the river, then there's going to be 1 less fish in the river, isn't that right? And therefore there will be less fish in the future if people keep fishing. So number 1 is C. Let me get this annotated. Okay. So number 1 is C. There's C. Number 2 then is speedboat. No. C is gone. So speedboat. Would it change the way the river flows? Noise pollution, damage plants in the riverbanks, or creatures eat the rubbish and become ill? Well, number 2 is B, noise pollution. Obviously, if you've ever heard these boats, speedboats, they are very, very loud. Okay, so that is B. Number 3 then is the rubbish in the water. So I think this one is fairly straightforward. Creatures eat the rubbish and become ill. That's the main problem with plastic pollution in the water for the fish, is that they eat it, or sometimes they can get stuck on them. They can get stuck in the actual plastic. So 3 is C. Not C, sorry, E. 4 is the dam. 4 is A. It changes the way the river flows, changes the height, or it can also change the direction of the way the river flows. And the last one is domestic animals, number 5. So we are left with D, damage plants on the riverbanks. Now, the animals damage the plants on the riverbanks because either they eat them or they stand on them, which causes them to become damaged. So D. So there we have C, B, E, A, and D. And then true or false? Again, okay, I'll read these out for you. Humans use rivers for many different activities. Is that true or false? Obviously that is true. Question 2, humans use dams to create energy. Question 3, chemicals from factories can harm habitats near rivers. Number 4, the Amazon is the world's longest river. So pause the video there and think of your answers to question 1, 2, 3, and 4. So again, I'm going to assume that you've paused the video and you have your answers. Now let's go through the answers, okay? So the first one is given to us. Humans use rivers for many different activities. Okay, we've spoke about that. 2, humans use dams to create energy. This is true. Humans use dams. So dams can be used to change the height or the way a river flows. But in doing that, lots of energy is created. And that can also produce electricity. So dams can also produce electricity from the energy that's created in changing the way the river flows. So that is true. This one is true. Question 3. Chemicals from factories can harm habitats near rivers. Is that true or false? Well, obviously that is true. We just need to look at this picture here, don't we? These chemicals and pollutants can hurt habitats near rivers. This is true as well. And last one. The Amazon is the world's longest river. This is false. It is the 3rd longest river in the world. Can you remember what the longest one is? In Egypt, in Africa. It's the Nile, exactly. So the Nile is the longest, the Yangtze is the 2nd longest, and the Amazon in the Amazon rainforest in Brazil is the 3rd longest. So this one is false. False. Okay, so there are our answers. And okay, so that's the conclusion of our lesson for today, guys. In conclusion, pollution, in particular water pollution and plastic pollution in water, is a very big problem. We've looked at how important rivers and water in general, rivers and lakes and seas are to us. We rely on them a lot for doing lots of different activities. We have seen the impact that factories and households can have on rivers. We have seen ways in which we can help as well. So by reducing our plastic consumption, so plastic bottles, plastic bags, things like that, by reducing that will help a lot in the environment, okay? So that's all, guys. Fill in those answers and have a great day.